right, let's talk about 75 hard. You've probably seen it all over your feed. 2 workouts a day, a gallon of water, no cheat meals, no days off. People swear it's changed their lives. But as a psychologist, I have some thoughts and some tea. Literal tea, not metaphorical tea. It's not that I hate it. I actually think parts of it make sense from a science-based behavioral change perspective, but I don't support the idea that this rigid all or nothing thinking is the best way or even the most durable way to build discipline, physical health, or mental well-being. It might work for some people, but it might not work for others, especially people that are juggling lots of responsibilities, have mental health struggles, or I don't know, just working adults. In this video, I'm going to break down what I think each part of the 75 hard challenge is trying to help you do from a behavioral science perspective. Then show you how to build your own version, a flexible research-backed challenge that I'm calling the Summer 75 Soft Challenge. It's about building consistency, not burnout. As I usually do on this channel, I'm going to show you how I'm taking my own advice and setting up my personalized challenge this summer, and I'll give you a customizable framework that you can use if you want to make your own and kill it by the end of summer. All right, let's start with part 1. Follow a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol. The originator of the 75 Challenge, Andy Frisella, wrote a tactical guide to winning the war with yourself. He says that this challenge will increase your confidence, self-esteem, and grit. That might be a little bro-y for me, so I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Clinic's explanation of the potential benefits of doing the 75 Hard Challenge. That was a mouthful. The Cleveland Clinic says that the challenge is designed to improve your life in the areas of physical fitness, emotional resiliency, and mental insight. So we're going to keep this in mind as we're moving forward and making our own version of the 75 Soft Challenge. All right, let's start with rule number 1. Follow a diet, no cheat meals, no alcohol. In the original version, this means choosing your own diet, so any diet that you want. It must include no cheat meals and no alcohol. I think that this part of the challenge is really focusing on 2 things. Having some sort of discipline or intentionality around food and your food intake, as well as building self-control and the ability to delay gratification. That ability to utilize self-control and even the ability to delay gratification has been shown to be an essential component of long-term behavioral change. I will say that research in the area of self-control and kind of gritting through difficult situations in order to facilitate behavioral change is only part of the research in behavioral science. There is also a more modern and complementary body of literature suggesting the importance of making it easier for you to do the right thing and how you can set up your environment so that you don't have to necessarily grit through things. Because there is a finite level of self-control. Studies have found that over time, your cognitive control, your ability to make the best choices, decreases over time. There is, of course, some nuance there. There are ways that you can refill your cup as you're moving forward, but I give you that larger context to say there is a role in developing self-control and increasing your ability to delay gratification, but it is not an all or nothing situation. Behavioral change is rarely about just like gritting through things day after day after day, but I see the utility in building some level of impulse control by identifying a way of eating and sticking to that way of eating for 75 days. Following a specific diet for a prolonged period of time could also increase your self-awareness about food in general, which can aid in things like weight loss goals or meeting some of your fitness standards. For my soft challenge, rather than following a specific diet, I'm going to follow a specific routine around eating. For the past few months, I've really struggled with tracking all of my calories. So the first rule in my 75 soft challenge is to track every calorie. Rather than no cheat meals, I'll allow myself an 80-20 rule. When it comes to tracking my calories, I'll allow myself to have an incomplete log 1 out of every 7 days. 7 days of the week, and you try to be consistent 80% of the time. That is going to give you just under 6 days, but just to make it nice and simple, I need to fully account for every calorie 6 out of 7 days a week so that I can consider myself a success. I will also be following the no alcohol rule with one exception. I'm giving myself a free pass for my birthday in mid-July. Since I'm planning on starting the 75-day challenge on July 1st, I'll be done by Labor Day, and I'll probably be ready for a beer. I don't drink beer. All right, let's move on to rule number 2, 2 45-minute workouts a day, 1 must be outdoors. I think what this rule is trying to get at is consistency and the role that consistency has on habit formation. And I think that second part, one of them having to be outdoors, is about increasing your distress tolerance. The scientific literature has shown some individual differences between the stress tolerance and certain favorable life outcomes. Other studies have shown that if you can repeat a behavior over a long period of time, you're more likely to form that behavioral pattern or habit. People often quote the 3 weeks to a new habit study. That was actually the statistical average found in that study, but there's a wide variability in how long it takes study participants to pick up a new habit. It can be as quick as a week or two, or it can take as long as a half year for some people to pick up a new habit. 75 days seems like a decent amount of time to try to establish a new behavior. For my 75 soft challenge, I'm also going to be doing 2 workouts a day, but rather than having a time limit specifying that it needs to be 45 minutes each, I'm going to focus on doing 2 different types of exercise. I'll be doing 4 days of weightlifting and 3 days of CrossFit, and every single day I'll be doing a second cardio workout. I hate going outside, but I hate cardio even more. So rather than slathering sunblock on myself and forcing myself to be out in this humid summer weather, I'm forcing myself to do 30 minutes of cardio every day, and 3 of those days will be high intensity cardio, while 4 of those days will be low intensity, steady state cardio. The only cardio I can tolerate right now. Hopefully that'll change after this challenge. My soft version still focuses on building physical endurance and strength, as well as grit and perseverance that comes from pushing myself physically and being uncomfortable several times a week. All right, let's move on to rule 3, drink 1 gallon of water per day. I can't really argue with this. We all need water to live. Hydration has been found to be related to things like cognitive clarity, physical performance, and even mood. I'll leave some references in the description box down below. If you're wondering who I am or why I know these things, hi, my name is Dr. Jamie. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist who focuses on performance optimization, and I've been working for the last 10 years as a behavioral scientist, so I'm always happy to pull up a reference. But there is some nuance to the recommendation that everyone drinks a gallon of water every day. Contrary to popular belief, there's no recommendation that people drink 8 glasses of water every day. Alternatively, official bodies in the areas of physiology, medicine, and nutrition have recommendations based on gender, body weight, and activity level. For someone of my gender, my size, and my activity level, my recommended water intake ranges from 75 to 91 ounces. Since my Stanley Cup holds 30 ounces, I'm going to commit to drinking 3 Stanley Cups worth of water. If you're keeping track, that's 90 ounces. Let's move on to rule number 4, read 10 pages of a nonfiction self-help book. As a psychologist and someone that's obsessed with performance optimization and self-improvement, you might think that I don't want to change this rule at all, but you'd be wrong. What I think this rule is getting at is having a growth mindset and focusing on cognitive enrichment. There's also an element of quiet discipline that's developed from habitually engaging in this purposefully slow type of habit development. The last thing that I think this rule might be getting at is the importance of habit stacking, especially people that are doing their 10 pages of reading right before they go to bed. It's part of developing a behavioral chain that increases the likelihood that you're going to follow through on a specific nighttime routine or a morning routine if you're doing your reading in the morning. I'm going to focus on 20 minutes of Japanese learning during my evening routine. It can take a casual reader anywhere from 13 to 20 minutes to get through 10 pages of a book, especially if they're taking their time trying to absorb the information, taking notes, or reflecting on what they're reading. So I'm going to take that 20 minutes and have quiet, focused effort on learning my Japanese. Rule 5 is take a progress photo every day. I think what this rule is trying to get at is tracking your progress and also picking up on small wins that aggregate over time. This is part of why I obsessively track so many areas of my life. I made an entire video on it. I will link it up above and have it on the end screen. I am a huge fan of tracking. Behavioral tracking has this kind of magic in therapy. It actually increases behaviors that you want to increase, and it decreases behaviors that you want to decrease. There's studies looking at behavioral tracking in negative behaviors, things like smoking cessation, and other studies looking at behavioral commitments when you have extended streaks of behaviors that you're trying to increase. So I will be following this rule, and I will be adding taking a progress photo to my nightly tracking routine. I hope I'll be able to see some differences or some progress over time, and it'll be exciting to add that to my end of year tracking when I do a video on how I tracked my entire life for a whole year. I like that level of accountability and commitment. All right, what about this last rule? No compromises, no substitutions, no days off. Well, the literature on this is pretty clear. We have studies looking at abstinence-only programs where people are asked to completely abstain from a specific behavior or completely change with the expectation that they'll never fall off the wagon, they'll never backslide, they will never be able to change again. What some studies have shown is that when we have this rigid definition of what it means to succeed, and that definition doesn't allow any room for growth or mistakes, when people fall off the wagon or when people stop, they become discouraged, and it's more likely to lead to a temporary increase in that behavior. Like when you're following a strict diet and you go over your caloric limit and you just say, screw it, I'm just gonna eat everything that I want today, and then tomorrow you're gonna eat everything that you want, and it'll be days and days before you get back on track. Rather than having an all or nothing approach, there are several models in behavioral change where there's an expectation that there's going to be some fluctuation, and success isn't defined as being 100% compliant 100% of the time. I'm going to hold myself to the 80-20 rule, meaning that if I follow all 5 of my rules 80% of the time, I'm going to give myself credit as that week being a success. Since 75 days is just shy of 11 weeks, I'm going to allow myself 10 days of being imperfect while still classifying myself as a success. That's about 1 day a week. That permission to fail and understanding that I'm human and that sometimes life is lifing will actually increase the likelihood that I'll stay in the program and continue moving forward even if I have imperfect days. That brings me to one of the things that I love about the 75 hard challenge and that I will hopefully love in my 75 soft challenge. It's this concept of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief in your own ability to successfully perform a specific task or achieve a specific goal. And when you feel like you're a success in the domain of building discipline, improving physical resiliency, and increasing your grit, you're going to be more confident in those areas of your life. And that increased confidence also increases the likelihood that you're going to challenge yourself further moving forward. It becomes a positive feedback loop where you expect to succeed in harder and harder things, so you try harder and harder things, and you increase your skill set in that specific area. In this case, this is where I think the 75 hard or soft challenge really has the ability to positively impact your life. If you're going to try this 75 soft challenge, let me know what your challenge rules are in the comments section down below. And if you'd like to join me in the process, I'm going to start on July 1st, which will have me finish right around Labor Day. When I start the challenge, I'll be live in the Communities tab here on YouTube. Feel free to drop in and let us know how you're doing with your 75 soft challenge. And if you're interested in other ways that I stay on track with my personal goals, check out this playlist right here, or check out this video that YouTube thinks you'll like.